A manhunt is underway in Western Germany after a man wielding a knife killed at least 3 people in the city of Solingen. At least 8 other people suffered injuries, some of them life-threatening. Police say they're looking for a single assailant. The stabbings occurred at a crowded festival in the city centre.
Police cordon off streets in Solingen as the search for the killer continues. State police, bolstered by special units, have launched a citywide manhunt, now said to be pushing into the surrounding region. Friday night's deadly knife attack at a street festival has left locals stunned. Solingen's mayor giving voice to his shock during a visit to the crime scene. We in Solingen are full of horror and full of sadness. What happened in our city yesterday hasn't allowed any of us to sleep. Thousands were enjoying an evening at Solingen's Fraunhof Square Friday night when witnesses say a man began stabbing passers-by with a knife, apparently at random. The attacker then disappeared into the ensuing panic and confusion. Police still don't know the assailant's identity or motive, but believe he acted alone. They've asked festival goers to submit videos and photos to help with the investigation.
We're trying to get a concrete description, but it's difficult because witnesses are in shock and unable to speak. They are all receiving care. We need to piece together all the information to continue the search.
The festival was supposed to celebrate Solingen's 650th anniversary. The weekend's remaining events are now cancelled as the city mourns, and with this emergency still far from over.
DW reporter Lewis Sanders is in Solingen. Lewis, what is the atmosphere like where you are?
It is an atmosphere of immense sadness. I've spoken to multiple residents from Solingen who just said we could have never imagined something like this on a day where we're supposed to celebrate the 650th anniversary of our founding. And look, Solingen is a diverse city. This is something that the festival actually wanted to celebrate. And when I was speaking to residents, they just thought, how could this happen to us? How could this happen to community? And they just feel incredibly disheartened at the moment, and they're looking for answers, which at the moment we have few to little. When I spoke to police here, they said, look, we can't give you any information at the moment. All we can say is that we have a small presence here, and just in order to maintain public safety. But at the moment, they've widened the manhunt, but there's little more that they can say about that. As you mentioned in the report, they have asked eyewitnesses, people who were at the concert, to share material that could be useful in identifying and hopefully finding the perpetrator.
OK, I understand there's little that we can actually talk about them, but what do we know at least about how events unfolded last night?
Absolutely. So the attack started shortly after 9:30, and at first it was unclear what was happening. At one moment, shortly after that, police were informed, and within this, even the DJ who was playing issued an account saying that he was told to continue playing in order to make sure that there wasn't some kind of mass panic in the festival. We're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of people gathered in this small square, not knowing what's going on. And eventually, they were informed, the music stopped, they were informed of what happened, but at that time, the perpetrator had already fled the scene. So, in a way, the details are very not clear, but we can say though that police were responding immediately after being informed of what was happening.
Tell us more about the manhunt you mentioned before, following this attack that's now been launched.
So at the moment, police haven't given much information. There were news reports earlier that a suspect was arrested. However, it's been clear now that that person is likely not tied to this. And again, this was all reported by news. We have no official information from the police. That should be coming a little bit later, and we will have that information to you as soon as possible. But however, at the moment, all I could say is that authorities said they have expanded the manhunt outside of Solingen. They are looking for the perpetrator, but there's little information that they can share now at the public. In fact, they're imploring the public to come forward with video material, images that they might have taken from the concert, so they can have more pieces of the puzzle to find out what exactly happened last night and who exactly is this perpetrator.
The very latest there from our reporter Lewis Sanders in Solingen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has reacted to the fatal stabbings in Solingen, writing on his official X account. The Chancellor wrote, "The attack in Solingen is a terrible incident that leaves me deeply shocked." He went on to say that the perpetrator must be caught quickly and punished with fullest extent of the law. And for more analysis on that comment and on this incident, we have DW security correspondent Thomas Sparrow with us. Thomas, Scholz wrote there commenting that the political reactions, sound intense. Tell us more what other politicians perhaps are saying as well.
Other politicians have followed the same line. We've heard from the Interior Minister, we've heard from the Vice-Chancellor. There's also been reaction from Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, Steinmeier being Germany's head of state. And all of the comments follow the same line. Shock on the one hand, politicians saying that their thoughts are with the relatives of the victims, and basically stressing the need to find the perpetrator. This is particularly relevant because the focus now is specifically on that, trying to find out who was behind that and why this attack happened. Once those two pieces of the puzzle are clear, once the public knows more about those pieces of the puzzle, will politicians be able to react accordingly? So depending on the motivation, depending on who the perpetrator is, depending on whether they can find the knife, that will determine to what extent politicians will react in the coming hours.
They know it was a knife attack, though. I mean, why so few details released to the public when it's in the public safety?
Essentially because authorities do not want to jeopardize their own investigations. So they want to make sure that they can carry out their investigations without any influence, any outside influence, if you will. So that's why this follows a pattern that we've seen in previous similar incidents, that authorities, especially the local, regional police, give initially very few details until they can have something more, which they can then tell the public. There is a press conference scheduled for later today, so this afternoon here in Germany, where authorities will probably give more details. But for now, they have tried to carry out their investigation without having to inform the public of every single detail of what is happening behind the scenes.
Are they still trying to determine a motive?
Absolutely. That's, if not one of the big questions, the most important element, because the motive determines the political reaction. If there is, for example, a political motivation, then that will determine how politicians want to react, whether, for example, they appeal for stricter laws when it comes to knife attacks in Germany. If there is no political motivation, that will in turn also determine how they move forward. So the political
laws
motivation,
for the possession of knives.
Exactly. So that is absolutely at the center of the current investigation, finding the perpetrator and determining the motive.
Tell us more about this manhunt, which has been widened outside the city's perimeter.
Normally what happens in these kinds of manhunts is they focus first and foremost on the perimeter, then they move beyond the perimeter. They talk to eyewitnesses, they try to talk to some of the people who were injured, they try and put all the different pieces of the puzzle together. There are also officials probably working behind the scenes trying to see if there were any cameras that recorded any images that could be used for the investigation. And now the main task is to really put all that together and try and form a picture that they can then present to the public. But this is something that takes time and that requires a lot of people as well. So I can imagine that it's not just, let's say, local policemen or police officers in Solingen working to try and find this out. This is something that will require coordination between local, regional and national authorities.
OK, so this could well be a national operation?
Absolutely.
OK. How much or how often do things like this attack, these types of knife attacks in Germany?
Compared to other countries, very rarely. So this is not something that really happens very often. Nevertheless, there has been an increase in knife incidents in recent years in Germany, which has led, by the way, the Interior Minister to say that tighter laws have to be discussed and debated on when it comes to possession of knives. And it's important to stress that we have to really be careful with these statistics, because police and in general authorities have not been gathering statistics on this particular issue for a very long time. So experts have warned that it's important to not basically conclude that this is a long trend. However, in the last few years, police have recorded an increase, so that's why there is also concern about what is happening now.
DW's Thomas Sparrows, thank you very much for unpacking that story for us.